and welcome to another episode of the School for School Counselors podcast. I'm Steph Johnson, back again with you this week for another awesome episode. I hope you love it. We're going to be talking about how to plan ahead proactively for the holiday season. So if you've been in school counseling for any amount of time, you know that this time of year is when things really start amping up. Students start experiencing more stressors than normal, family relationships, financial stress, differences in routine, structure, and schedules. There are all kinds of things that go into creating this tornado. And some students handle it well. They just feel a little stressed, but they're all right. But then we have some of our little buddies that don't handle it so well. And so it's always a good idea to start planning ahead for these last weeks before the end of the first semester. And so I'm going to bring you my best ideas and what I do in my school counseling program to try to be proactive during the holidays, to not only be sure that I'm meeting the needs of my students, but also that I'm able to be efficient and effective. So without further ado, let's jump into getting ready to help for the holidays. Number one, be prepared to check on students more often. As I said, we have a lot of family dynamics that come into play, different schedules, bedtimes are going to be off kilter, and we typically think about that affecting the younger students, but if you've worked in middle school or high school, you know those bedtimes affect older students just as much, if not more sometimes. Financial stressors can become more prevalent in families. Drug and alcohol concerns in the family sometimes peak this time of year. So there are a lot of things that are going on that really kind of make them feel a little off balance. And then we add in the things that are happening at school, all the different celebrations, changes in weather. We wouldn't think that would be a big deal, but sometimes it is. If you don't have a warm coat, if you're walking to school in tennis shoes that don't keep your feet warm, those are things you dread every morning when you wake up. A lot of students will refuse to go to school, right? They begin avoiding school because they don't want to go. Or we have academic pressures with the end of the semester coming up, just lots and lots of things going on. So as we think about those changes for students, we want to plan to check in on them more often. My money is on the fact that you probably know which students are going to need your assistance most, right? Now, we can't predict everyone. If we could do that, man, our jobs would be so much easier. But we usually have a rough idea of some students that could stand for some more frequent check-ins at school just to make sure things are going okay. And these don't have to be lengthy, right? These don't have to be a full counseling session, but just some quick 3 to 5 minute check-ins for some folks, or maybe even some 2x10s. Have you ever heard of a 2x10? 2 minutes for 10 consecutive days. It's amazing what that kind of relationship building can do for students. And when they feel untethered, like they don't have a solid anchor in this topsy-turvy holiday time, something like a 2x10 can really, really help them feel like they have a connection with someone who is interested, who cares, and is concerned for their well-being. So first, make sure you're planning on checking in on your students more often. And you might even want to schedule a little bit of extra time in your day to do that if you have the ability to. Number 2, prep your staff. Revisit your PBIS expectations if you're a PBIS school, your restorative practices. Revisit what constitutes a crisis or an emergency. Sometimes our staff gets a little carried away, right? And everything becomes a crisis. Everything becomes an emergency, especially when they're dealing with their own stresses this time of year. So make sure they understand what truly constitutes a crisis or an emergency and how they can correctly refer students to you. You can also remind your staff that frequent changes in schedule or routine leads to dysregulation. A lot of students find safety in routine. They find comfort in knowing exactly what's going to happen next. And so when we get ready to try to mix it up during the holiday time, do a lot of different things in the classroom we don't usually do, we have lots of assemblies or events or things happening, that can throw some of our folks off kilter a little bit. So just remind teachers that if they choose to change schedules or routines, be prepared to see some different kinds of responses to that. And they've got to be proactive about that and not just punitive. Number 3, double check your assessment and referral information. Unfortunately, this time of year, we also see a peak in students who are crying out for help, whether that be self-harming, whether that be threats of self-harm, whether that be suicide cries, whatever the case may be. We want to make sure that we have our assessment and referral information ready to go. If you participated with us at the beginning of the year, we did Let's Build a Jump File, and we put our protocols, our assessments, our referrals all in a folder so they would be ready to go. We made multiple copies so we would know we would have them at arm's length at any given time. And so if you did that, this time of year would be a great time to make sure you still have enough copies to get you through the rest of the semester. You don't want to have to run to the copy machine in the middle of talking with the student in crisis, right? That's never a good situation. But if you didn't participate in our jump file session, right now is a great time to get all of your protocols together. Printed copies are best. I know some of you are really digital and you love having everything on your computer, but I'm telling you that paper in your hand where you can take notes and be really mindful is worth $1,000,000. Make sure you have your screeners if you're required to use them in your district, something like the Columbia. And then make sure you have your referral list updated so you can send that with parents if and when you need to. The last little piece that I'll offer is if you are in charge of any family assistance events, we should already be working on those. If you're not already and you know you're going to be heading up something like a coat drive, a food drive, a gift program, helping families find utilities or other kinds of community assistance, those programs really ought to be underway already. If they're not, it's not too late. You can certainly get started on it, but you're just going to have to hustle to get caught up. These tasks are a tremendous undertaking. They are so fulfilling, but also a ton of work. I'm telling you from experience. And they are so much work, it would be difficult to outline every step that you need in something like a podcast episode. So I'll tell you what we're going to do instead. I sat down and I thought, I'm going to make all of my School for School Counselors folks a checklist so they can just go down the list and make sure they have everything in place for their community assistance events. And what started off as a one-page checklist turned into an 8-page prep guide. You guys know I love to go over the top for you. This is no exception, but I want to make sure you're taken care of. I want to make sure that you feel empowered and prepared to undertake this task. And so once I got going, I could not stop. I had to add in all the bits and pieces that I could think of for you in our book. So we're making this available to you at no cost. This is not a money-making venture for us. We just want to make sure that you're well taken care of during the holiday season. So again, if you're in charge of organizing anything like a coat drive, a food drive, a gift program, utilities assistance, if you're involved in any of that, go download our Holiday Assistance Program Prep Guide. You can get it at schoolforschoolcounselors.com/holiday, all right? And it'll be there waiting for you. Like I said, it's 8 pages, and it's not 8 pages of fluff, right? It's not 8 pages of 40-point font in there. It's got some really good planning, some suggestions for you as you kind of tease your way through the process, but also lots of room for you to generate your own procedures as well. So I think we brought you the best of both worlds in that. I'd love to know what you think about it once you use it. But again, that's at schoolforschoolcounselors.com/holiday. I hope that these tips were helpful to you as we look into all of the interesting things that seem to happen between now and the end of the first semester. Checking on students, prepping your staff, making sure that your documents are in place, that you've planned ahead, and that you're ready for your family assistance events are going to go a long way in helping you feel capable and confident in the rest of this semester. And hey, speaking of holidays, we've got something special coming up here in just a few weeks as we're on our Thanksgiving breaks. And I know we're all looking forward to that right now, aren't we? I know that I am. What comes right after Thanksgiving? Aha, it's Black Friday. And we've got some really cool Black Friday deals coming your way in our School for School Counselors world, just in case you're interested in hopping into any of the things we have going on. But before Black Friday, we will be hosting a better than Black Friday event. This is a one-time-a-year thing. This is going to be the absolute best opportunity that you're going to have to join things like our School for School Counselors Mastermind, which you hear me talk about on this podcast all the time, but also our Get the Job program, which is getting ready to ramp up for 2023. It is a wonderful, wonderful program for anyone looking to get hired as a school counselor this upcoming school year. We help you with your interview strategy. We help you with your resume. We help you with your data-driven initiatives within all of that. It's basically like interview prep in a box, not a real box, but you get what I'm saying. And the cool thing about it is that number one, if you work hard and complete what we're asking you to do, you will walk into any interview feeling more confident than you've ever felt in your whole life. Guaranteed. We've heard it time and time again from the hundreds of school counselors that we've had go through our program. This is not just some random resume template we popped up on the internet and decided to give, an hour-long workshop blathering on about, make sure you put your most recent experience at the top. And y'all, those are basic resume rules. We're not going to be giving you that kind of stuff. We're going to be digging down and dirty. How do you get your resume seen? How do you get it past the screeners? How do you walk in and virtually guarantee an answer to any question that your panel asks you without having to study the list of ASCA interview questions beforehand? Those are some big questions, right? So we're going to be kicking that off in January. If you're interested in joining us, we'd love to have you. schoolforschoolcounselors.com/get the job, all one word. You can get more information there and be watching for that Better Than Black Friday sale because that's going to be the cheapest you are ever going to see it. And I'm telling y'all right now, just between me and you, we'll be increasing the price later on this year. So if you want the best price, you need to jump in either on Black Friday or Better Than Black Friday. So keep your eyes peeled for that. If you're not a member of our Facebook group, now is the perfect time to jump in so you'll know exactly when that is going down. All right, my friends, I hope this was helpful to you. If this year has been any indication, the end of the semester is going to be a doozy. But the good news is I'll be right here with you. Our School for School Counselors family will be here with you on Facebook. And you want to hop into that mastermind too, so you can jump in those support and consultation chats, because I'm telling you right now, we all need that for sure. All right. Well, until I'm back with another episode of the podcast, I hope you have the best week ever. I can't wait to talk to you again. Take care.